What happened in the world of crypto this week? Well, joining me to talk about that and then some is Jason Desimone. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Robert. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. For the benefit of our viewers who may not be familiar with you and your work, do you mind giving us a description, background?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. Glad to be on here. My name is Jason Desimone. I'm based out of New York. Been in the crypto space for quite a while, dating back to 2014, 2015, when I actually withdrew from law school to dive into this space full time pretty early on. Got a lot of heat for that decision back then, but definitely been vindicated over the years. Really fell in love with the space, dove down the rabbit hole, been involved in a lot of projects. My main focus is as head of blockchain for a software development firm called Ubik Group. We've built a lot of high profile projects out of the US as well as Europe and Asia, so a very global presence. On the enterprise side, we work with the likes of American Express, Amazon, Microsoft, Coinbase, and Gemini, so some of the major exchanges. And then we specialize a lot on DeFi projects, so build staking platforms, yield farming, NFT platforms. Very blockchain agnostic approach, really multi-chain, have very high level engineers. And this has allowed us to work on a lot of interesting protocols from the ground up. Also with an independent cybersecurity arm to really focus on smart contract audits and try to prevent any vulnerabilities and exploits, which are becoming more and more prominent in the space. In addition to overseeing a lot of these builds, I'd say I really specialize in tokenomics or token economics, really understanding how to align interests in crypto networks, a lot of game theory involved, and really coming up with disruptive and pretty evolving patterns across industries around the space. It's really my passion, and it's a lot of where I work on these days, from an investor standpoint, advisor, or with Ubik Group. In addition to my work there, I also manage a fund called TTM Holdings. We are based out of New York, and we also specialize in the DeFi space. So I've taken a lot of what I've learned from the ground up, being in the space for quite a while, and we apply it to trading. There's different proprietary methods we take advantage of, such as staking, yield farming, some of what I mentioned before. Really try to find alpha in these new emerging ecosystems, right? Beyond your traditional centralized exchanges and Ethereum, but some of these new emerging ecosystems, Solana, Avalanche, et cetera. I have a lot of experience in the space, in wearing quite a number of hats. Also deal with a lot of regulators and lawmakers. So in 2019, I helped launch the NYC Blockchain Center. This was the first publicly and privately funded blockchain project out of New York. It was Microsoft and GBBC partnered up with the New York City government with the goal of creating a regulatory sandbox so that regulators and entrepreneurs could openly dialogue, and we could try to push the envelope forward, since we have such stringent regulations around blockchain over here in New York with BitLicense, et cetera. Earlier this year in 2021, I was called as an expert witness before the North Dakota General Assembly on a couple of different blockchain bills. So I'm a huge proponent of creating a very compliant and regulatorily safe environment for entrepreneurs and investors to really flourish, and to try to keep a lot of innovation and capital within the US when it comes to the blockchain industry. In addition to all that, I am also launching a token, a pretty large project based out of the Solana ecosystem. It's gaining a lot of traction. Happy to jump into that one as well.
Yeah, talk more about that. That's sort of at the top of your plate, I guess, right?
Yeah, this is my main focus right now. Have a busy Q1 ahead of us. We are in the midst of closing out a pretty large pre-sale round with a US-based token offering, and we're building a very large platform, as I mentioned, in the Solana ecosystem, sort of merging Web3 and entertainment. So it's playing off a lot of these concepts in the space right now around community-owned treasuries and DAOs, where we have cash in hand and a very experienced executive team from the entertainment space, from different verticals, where we deploy this capital towards film, metaverse opportunities, NFTs, events, And any of the profits generated from these activities are redistributed back to this network of token holders through pretty innovative tokenomic models. So the ultimate goal is to really democratize access and allow consumers of content to have skin in the game for the first time in the content they consume. In addition, the main goal of this platform called Rove is to create an extremely user-friendly experience to onboard the masses. As I'm sure a lot of you know, one of the main critiques of crypto and the blockchain space, as we know, is we haven't fully been able to onboard the mainstream because the UI and UX, the user experience, is not as fluid as we need right now. There's issues around scalability and costs. So our whole goal here is, building with Solana, the fastest and cheapest blockchain, 0.00025 cents per transaction. Integrating with Taurus, so users can access their mobile wallet through mainstream social media apps, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Discord. They don't need to memorize complex seed phrases, etc. And also partnering with MoonPay, #1 credit card payment processor, so users can buy our token in-app and don't need to get redirected to third-party exchanges. We have a lot of utility around this token. It's a really exciting ecosystem with a lot of big partners around us from both the entertainment world and the blockchain world, where users can, buy tickets to upcoming Rove events, scan these with a unique QR code for an instantaneous transfer of tokens. Also playing off the social token concept, where users need to hold and stake a certain amount to get access to this network, and an internal DAO as well to support creatives. So this is also a governance token. So really creating a very strong foundation within this ecosystem that really connects utility and a very user-friendly experience to bring together the best of these worlds, entertainment and Web3.
Right. So you've launched this, or it's about to be launched this year?
Yeah, so this will be launched. We're aiming for early Q2. And we have a few launch partners, a lot of exchanges ready. So yeah, we're very excited. We're heads down building right now.
Right. So there are a lot of folks who watch This Week in Crypto who are eager to toe dip and perhaps didn't toe dip because of some of the problems that you mentioned in terms of the user interfaces and memorizing seed words, et cetera, et cetera. How will this be different? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you nailed it, right? There's a lot of people who are hesitant to jump into the space. It's not only some of the complexity around it, which has definitely evolved. It used to be a lot worse in the space. A few years back, it used to be very tech savvy. It definitely has opened up, but there's still a lot of barriers to entry. For example, some of the best coins you can get aren't on centralized exchanges. They're on decentralized exchanges. And in order to bridge to some of these is like a 10-step process. There's a lot of tricks along the way. And unfortunately, hackers and scammers are becoming incredibly savvy as well. So there are a lot of security risks. And for a lot of these reasons, while there's tremendous upside in crypto and everyone wants to get in, whether it's trading, buying NFTs, building, there is a lot of hesitation around it. So Robert, you are absolutely right. Just wanted to lead with that. We're trying to solve each of these issues by, not reinventing the wheel, but integrating some of the best technology that currently exists into one central app. So this is actually the Rove. Rove is an app, right? It's in the App Store. This is not a browser, which you see a lot in the crypto space. People have to connect their MetaMask to a desktop. This is actually an app, and it's extremely user-friendly. So for example, to buy a ticket with the Rove token is a 2-click process for us, right? To get into your mobile wallet itself, as I mentioned before, we partnered with Taurus Labs. They were backed by Binance, Coinbase Ventures, Sequoia. It's a major up-and-coming protocol. I would recommend you all to take a look after this. And what Taurus allows is for you to access any crypto wallet through mainstream social media applications, such as Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Discord, right? Potentially even Instagram. So right now, if you try to set up a MetaMask, you'd have to memorize your seed phrase. It's pretty complex, doesn't have a great mobile experience. Taurus really solves a lot of that and keeps the complex blockchain stuff under the hood, so users don't need to think about it. As I mentioned from the beginning, we're building on Solana. I personally believe having experienced a lot of these different blockchains, that Solana is the best for the user experience. It's the fastest blockchain, and it's also the cheapest by far. The average transaction fee is 0.00025 cents. You can't do anything mainstream, in my opinion, besides NFTs on Ethereum. For example, if you want to buy a ticket to a show, can you imagine when the gas fee is more than the ticket itself, which unfortunately is the case with Ethereum now. And then lastly, as I mentioned, MoonPay. MoonPay is becoming the #1 credit card payment processor. They just closed a massive round. And what's great about MoonPay, they love what we're doing with Rove. We're in talks about the token being a quick buy option. MoonPay allows users to just pay with their credit card, and it's a 40-second KYC process where you can get a token in app, right? Rather than having to redirect users to a third-party exchange with a very complex KYC process, it takes forever. Then users have to move tokens back to the app. It's a very convoluted process. You risk losing the tokens along the way. It frustrates people. This is very seamless, all in app. These are some of the ways we're thinking about this, as well as bundling NFTs into it to create an experience that is actually better than what exists out there in Web 2. And you don't have to worry about any of the complex blockchain issues. They're all under the hood in the back end.
Talk more about the NFTs. We have a good many viewers who are intrigued by them, but may not be quite as familiar as they would want to be.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different angles we could take the NFT discussion. Where I find it personally very relevant and exciting, right, beyond just the collection aspect, is this concept of social tokens, right? So the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which I'm sure you all are familiar with, kind of revolutionized this concept of needing to hold a token to get access to something. In this case, it was a digital club, a digital yacht club, where all the holders of an ape, right, would have access to this. And you don't need me to preach how successful this was. These things started at $200 and are now at 250,000. Last time I checked. And that's for a digital experience. So now imagine applying that concept to actual in-demand real world events, which is what we're trying to do with Rove, right? Partnering with Tommy Hilfiger to do fashion in the metaverse, partnering with major music festivals, in talks all the way up to Coachella, right? And imagine users to access these needed to hold and stake a certain amount of our native token, as well as potentially an NFT. Imagine all the value from these different verticals accruing to one token, right? And it's actually an in-demand experience where users would want to participate anyway. Plus, now their tokens are going up in value. They're actually earning profit by participating in the stuff they would anyway. These are where I think NFTs are extremely interesting. And you could also start gamifying things. Imagine you're a very loyal user. You have access to exclusive events, get exclusive NFT drops. As you guys know, crypto is about two things. It's about the tech and the community. The community is as important as anything. And I think what a lot of these crypto networks have shown us is truly how powerful network effects can be on a global scale, on an international scale. You have these diehard loyal communities. It goes beyond the token price. And these are extremely valuable. These are the monetization models of the future. So if you have a very loyal community around you, you start doing NFT drops that sell out instantaneously, then now everyone wants to use your platform for NFT drops. And now all that value is once again accruing to a central token. It becomes very cyclical. So that's kind of where I'm most excited about NFTs. I personally believe they were really cool in their first evolution, but I don't believe the future of just buying, one of 70 million collections on OpenSea, storing it in your MetaMask and hoping it goes up. I don't think that's our end game here. I think NFTs are the future of digital content. The future of integration in the metaverse and gaming is extremely exciting. And these social tokens, like I just mentioned, are where I'm really passionate about NFTs.
So we're fond of talking about community as well. Talk about the community that you've established with the platform so far.
Yeah. So, and I advise anyone out there who's considering to, start building in the space, really getting behind a project, please consider community first and foremost. And there's amazing stuff happening with communities in Telegram, Discord, all the major social medias where, it's not anymore. There's an evolution in the space. I'll jump into Rove in a second. I just want to lead with this. There's really been an evolution in the space where it's becoming a lot more and more of a meritocracy. And you see this with DAOs. DAOs are literally community governed networks, right? There's literally no CEO, there's no executive, there's no boss. These are governed, even financial decisions are made by the community. Now, I'm not saying all these will be successful. I still think we're very early with DAOs. There are some use cases where they don't apply, but it shows really the power of building a community around you. And even on a lot of these token sales, they used to only be accessible to influencers or VCs. Now you see a lot of projects where they're whitelisting or reserving spots for the people who contributed the most to the community from day one, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many people you know. It's about your contribution. That's how you really build a loyal community. We're building a lot of these concepts into Rove, right? Where you could actually earn tokens. You don't necessarily have to buy them, buy your contributions, and then maybe attend events you wouldn't be able to otherwise, right? And then you can stake these tokens and earn even more. So there's actually revenue models, there's monetization models around contributing as a community member, which we've never seen before. I think that's really exciting. In terms of Rove, we have been in stealth up until this point. We formed very big partnerships, all kind of behind the scenes, because it is an idea in a very competitive landscape that we wanted to make sure was far enough along. But now that we're closing out our round, we are in full-blown community building mode. And I think, you guys might hear a lot about this in the upcoming weeks and months up until launch. But community is absolutely crucial for any blockchain project. One last thing I'll say about it is also keep in mind how competitive the space is becoming. Users can choose between, over 10,000 different tokens. You have to give them a reason to stay with yours, even during the down swings. So all of this is very important.
So for folks who are watching, what website or where should they go to learn more?
About Rove? Yeah, Rove.live. We have a new website coming up soon, and then we will be launching our social media channels very shortly after our PR announcement. So we are a little early, but we are on the cusp of this. Towards the end of the month, these will be a lot more prominent. But yeah, Rove.live to learn more. And yeah, happy guys could reach out to me directly through LinkedIn if you'd like after this podcast is over.
All right, so we covered a lot of ground on that. Anything that we missed or anything that bears reemphasizing before we move on?
No, I think I think that's what I'm up to right now, what I'm really, how I'm really thinking about this space for the upcoming months.
All right, so I do want to get to things that happen in the world of crypto that you think our viewers need to know about. But before I do, I want, you mentioned regulations in your opening. I'm curious, the SEC and others are looking at crypto and trying to figure out how to regulate it. And do you have any thoughts about the best approach that regulators should take?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this one. It's a great question. So, I really started diving deeper into the regulatory side of it when I participated in the first SEC regulated token offering back in 2017 and 2019 for Blockstack, actually based out of New York as well. And you learn a lot along the way. Unfortunately, we as entrepreneurs and everyone in the space are in a very difficult situation out of the US, New York, and places like this in particular, because everyone is trying to innovate, everyone is trying to push the boundary, create jobs, create capital, right? Really push the needle forward in a lot of industries. And we're a little pigeonholed because we're not given guidance, right? Even if that guidance is restrictive, it's better than no guidance because it creates a vacuum where it's very hard to operate in. So for the project I'm doing, we're working with top law firms that have done this for a while. Even so, it's extremely difficult to predict how the SEC is going to rule on a lot of these things. You can do everything in your power to make something a utility token and try to pass the Howey test. but at the end, it comes down to the SEC. And unfortunately, when they're ruling that, stable coins earning yield on Coinbase are a security, it becomes difficult to see what won't be a security. Now, well, what does that mean? Well, that means that if you are launching a token, for example, you should assume that this will be listed as a security and do everything compliant along the way, such as file Form Ds, and treat this, give full disclosures to investors, try to raise from accredited investors, right, rather than retail, lock up investors for a certain period of time to protect the public, right? There's all these steps you can take, but unfortunately, then you can't list your token on US exchanges because they don't accept securities yet. They might accept security tokens in the future, but not yet. And if that's your main audience that you're going after, it becomes very difficult to navigate. Now, I'm a firm believer that the way to push the needle forward on regulation is to innovate, right? To go out there and to create, not to wait for the perfect environment that might never be the case. So, yeah, I don't know when we will have clear guidance. For the meantime, you do need to be careful. You should do everything. You should always do everything by the books, but especially now. So, and I really hope that, we have clear guidance in the future. And I think the key to this is for regulators to be more educated in the space, and to really understand it before they make laws that are very restrictive. And I know there's different interest groups from both sides of the aisle, but I really think the regulators themselves should work to really understand the space before they make laws around it.
Are you encouraged that SEC Chair Gensler actually taught a course on crypto at MIT?
Yeah, no, without going too deep into this, I was encouraged until, I saw some of the rulings that came out since he's been in the chairman. So I do think he is very knowledgeable in the space. I don't necessarily think he's going about it the right way just yet, but that can change, and hopefully it will.
Yeah. I also noticed on your bio, Jason, that you've been appointed to the UN's Blockchain for Impact Commission.
Yeah.
Curious about your thoughts around crypto and climate change.
Yeah, sure. I didn't get into this in my intro, but one of my main focuses when I first got into the space was around the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and specifically how we could apply blockchain or distributed ledger technology towards solving these by 2030, which is the goal, right? And it requires exponential technology and a reallocation of capital to make this a reality. If you actually look at each of the 17 SDGs, from no poverty to climate change, like you mentioned, there are specific blockchain tools that can be used to really push the needle forward. And that's what we should be striving to do with this technology, right? It's not just to enrich insiders who know more than the public during bull markets, or to just try to push out as many projects as possible and raise as much capital. We should be using this technology to push the needle forward and affect change at a large scale. So yes, blockchain technology there's various ways you can apply it to climate change, especially when it comes down to like data, transparent data around things, and tracking and capital allocation at a high level, making sure that we're not wasting massive amounts of capital towards the wrong solutions, measuring things more transparently. All these things come into play across the board.
All right, so let's turn our attention to what caught your eye and our viewers need to know about what happened in the world of crypto this week.
Yeah, man, it's such a fast moving space, changes daily. Right now, really fascinated by some of these new DAOs that are forming. I know it's the talk of the time, but one in particular, New Order, is a DAO. It's an incubator for DeFi projects that already has 5. They just launched like less than a month ago. They already have 5 projects, and they provide funding, resources, and this is all community governed, right? This is actually the first time I've truly seen the VC model being disruptive in this way. And if we can get to a place where communities can start funding projects and bringing them to market as sort of incubators, I think that's mind blowing. Really cool. This wasn't necessarily this week, but just looking forward, I think a huge narrative going forward is going to be, and we're going to see it more and more, is interoperability. What I mean by that is being able to jump seamlessly from blockchain to blockchain. So I think one of the big narratives of 2021 was the rise of these alternative layer ones. Layer one means the base level blockchain. So you have Ethereum, which ruled the day, but then you had the rise of all these others: Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, Tezos, right? Phantom, you name them. There's tons of them. And they all have different advantages than others. They're all built differently, right? So that was like the main theme of 2021, the rise of layer ones that all started stealing market share away from Ethereum. Now what I think is going to happen is, a byproduct of that is what's called bridges. In order for you to jump from one blockchain to another, you often have to bridge. Now, the first evolution of these bridges were very clunky. Right now, for me to get to like Avalanche will take like 15 minutes. And that's one of the faster ones. Most of them are 30 minutes or more, right? So this can't happen in the future. This is part of that user experience problem I mentioned before. And there's a bunch of great teams working on this. So imagine a future where you can go from blockchain to blockchain seamlessly, right? It doesn't take a huge process. And I think at that point, we're going to start having these like tribalistic ecosystems. And it'll be a lot more of a convergence where you start using blockchains for specific reasons. You use Ethereum for this reason. You use Solana for this reason. You use Avalanche for this reason. And you could jump from one to the other. This will have a big impact on the valuations of these, which is another topic that I have to think about as, an investor and a trader. But that's what I think a big narrative coming up, and it's extremely exciting. It's the next progression of the space.
Well, Jason, we've covered a lot of ground. Anything on your mind before we wrap up, or has that covered it all?
Yeah, there's a lot on my mind. The space changes so quickly. Can take this a lot of different ways, but I think we covered the important parts. I would just say to all the viewers out there, what I personally love about the space, especially building, I would really advise everyone who wants to get into the space to join projects or start building themselves. What's amazing about blockchain is it's very collaborative. Everyone wants to partner to build together. There's a saying, WAGMI, we're all going to make it, right? It's no longer a zero-sum game. It's more positive sum. And it's a very supportive community. So if you're sitting on the sideline thinking, how do I get in? Just dive in full steam ahead. There's a lot of resources out there and a lot of people around the world looking to help and really create together.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for joining us here on This Week in Crypto, and with hope you'll come back on and give us an update on your projects.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.